I want to talk to you heart to heart today. Not as an expert. Not as someone giving advice. But as someone who understands how it feels when the years pass and suddenly, people stop noticing you the way they used to. You might still feel full of life inside, but out there in the world, it's like you've faded into the background. You walk into a room, and no one really sees you. Not because you've changed, but because the world has changed how it sees women like us. Just last week, I sat with a friend who's in her late 60s. She said something that stayed with me. She said, "I don't try to stand out anymore. I just live my life." And strangely, that's when people started noticing me again. That really made me think. Maybe it's not about standing out, maybe it's about standing strong in who you are. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a few quiet truths. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, where are you watching from today? Drop your city or state in the comments below. I always love seeing how far our community is reaching. Point 1. A woman who lives her own life becomes magnetic without trying. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something just for you? Not for your kids, not for your partner, not because someone needed you, but simply because it made you happy? You see, one of the quietest but most powerful things a woman can do as she grows older is to keep living her life fully. A life that isn't waiting around. A life that's already moving with joy, purpose, and peace. Many women, especially after 60, fall into this habit of becoming too available. If someone calls, they answer immediately. If a man shows a little interest, they cancel plans just to make time. Not because they're weak, but because they care. They want to show they're still worth loving. But in doing that, they sometimes forget their own rhythm. And here's the truth, when you always make space for someone else, you leave less space for yourself. And slowly, you start disappearing from your own life. But the most magnetic older women, the ones men remember, the ones people respect, are the ones who didn't give up their routines. They kept their walking groups, their painting classes, their Sundays with the grandkids, their quiet mornings with a book. And what happens? People start to notice. Because living your own life fully sends a message without you saying a word. It tells others, I'm not waiting to be chosen. I already chose myself. I remember someone once said, when you stop chasing people, the right ones chase you. And it's true. A man doesn't fall for a woman because she gave up everything to be with him. He falls for her because she doesn't need to. That's what makes him want to stay. You don't need to chase anyone. You just need to build a life so good that if someone wants to be part of it, they'll have to meet you where you are, not ask you to shrink. So the next time you think about canceling your plans because someone suddenly wants to see you, pause and ask, is this something I really want? Or am I just afraid of missing a chance? Because the truth is, real chances don't require you to disappear from your own world. They ask to enter it. Point 2. Gentle, pressure-free flirting speaks louder than words. Let's be honest, the word flirting can feel strange after a certain age. Maybe you haven't thought about it in years. Maybe it feels silly or unnecessary now. But here's the thing, flirting isn't about playing games or trying to act younger. At this stage in life, it's not even about being romantic in the usual sense. It's about creating a light, warm connection, one that feels easy, safe, and real. You don't need fancy lines or dramatic gestures. What truly draws someone in, especially a mature man, is the quiet way you make him feel seen. It could be a kind glance that lingers for a second longer than expected. It could be a thoughtful comment, something simple like, you have a calm energy, it's nice to be around. That's it. No pressure. No expectations. Just a moment of real connection. The truth is, men over 50 have been through a lot too. Failed relationships, emotional wounds, all the usual ups and downs. And what they're really looking for now isn't a performance, it's peace. They want to sit across from someone who makes them feel comfortable just being themselves. Someone who doesn't judge, doesn't push, doesn't need constant attention. And older women are actually in the perfect place to offer that, not because they're trying to impress, but because they're finally comfortable in their own skin. One of the most unforgettable things about a mature woman is that she doesn't flirt to get something. She flirts because she's enjoying the moment. She gives just enough warmth to make someone feel welcomed, but not so much that it becomes overwhelming. That kind of presence, that balance, is rare. And men remember it, even if they can't explain why. It's not about trying harder. It's about being present and letting your natural charm show up in small, honest ways. You don't need approval. You don't need to act. You just need to enjoy being exactly who you are, a woman who knows how to light up a room softly, not loudly. A woman who brings calm, not chaos. When you let yourself share that kind of light, no pressure, no game, you won't have to chase attention. It will come naturally, and it will stay longer. Here's point 3, continuing with the same simple, calm, and heart-to-heart tone. Point 3, calm confidence earns deep respect. You know what really stands out in a woman after a certain age? It's not her looks. It's not how loud she is or how much she says. It's how she carries herself. Calm. Steady. Clear. When a woman knows who she is and speaks from that place, gently but firmly, people listen. Men, especially mature men, don't just notice that kind of presence, they respect it. And more than that, they feel safe around it. We've all learned, sometimes the hard way, that trying to please everyone just leaves you tired and empty. You say yes when you want to say no. You keep quiet to avoid upsetting someone. You tiptoe around feelings. But there comes a point where you realize, you don't need to do that anymore. You're not here to convince anyone. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to be honest, with kindness. That's what true confidence looks like. It doesn't mean you talk over people. It means you speak when it matters, and you speak with peace. Not to argue, but to be understood. Not to control, but to share where you stand. Let me tell you something, when a man hears a woman say calmly, "I value consistency," or "I don't respond to mixed signals," it makes him pause. Not because she's giving him an ultimatum, but because she's clear. And clarity is rare these days. Most people are vague. They're unsure. But when you speak with calm certainty, it sends a message: this woman respects herself. And if I want to be part of her life, I need to step up. That kind of confidence doesn't shout. It doesn't try to win. It simply stands tall, with soft strength. And the right man will not only notice it, he'll rise to meet it. Because a man who's serious is drawn to a woman who knows what she stands for, not one who waits for him to define her. So if you've been holding back your truth because you're afraid of losing someone, I want to gently remind you, the person who walks away from your truth was never meant to stay. But the one who stays? He'll stay because you were real, and that's the most beautiful thing you can be. Point 4, boundaries that don't need to be explained. There's something deeply powerful about a woman who knows her limits, and isn't afraid to say them out loud. Not with anger. Not with guilt. Just with calm certainty. And one of the greatest lessons we learn as we grow older is this: you don't need to explain your boundaries to be respected. You simply need to hold them. A lot of women, especially those who've been hurt or overlooked, feel the need to over-explain. They say things like, "I hope this doesn't sound rude, but I don't like late-night calls," or "I'm sorry, but I'm not comfortable with casual relationships." But the truth is, you don't need to say sorry for knowing what's right for you. A boundary isn't an attack. It's a clear sign that says, "This is how I care for myself." And mature men, the kind worth having in your life, don't get scared off by your boundaries. They feel relieved. Because finally, someone is being honest. Finally, they don't have to guess what's okay and what's not. They don't have to walk on eggshells. And deep down, men respect women who make them rise to the standard, not women who lower their standards to please them. Imagine sitting across from someone and simply saying, "I only welcome serious intentions in my life. I don't do gray areas anymore." You're not being cold. You're being clear. And that clarity feels like peace to the right person. It sets the tone. It says, "I've lived enough to know what I want. I'm not rushing. I'm not angry. I just value my time." A woman who speaks like that doesn't chase attention. She doesn't beg for love. She chooses who gets access to her world. And that, right there, is what makes her unforgettable. Not because she demands it, but because she expects nothing less. So if someone ever says you're too direct or too firm, smile kindly. Because what they're really saying is, "I'm not used to a woman who respects herself this much." And that's not your problem. That's their lesson. Yes, absolutely, we can add one more powerful point to the script. Since the current points focus on confidence, boundaries, presence, and peace, I suggest adding this as point 5. Point 5, she doesn't chase love. She chooses it with care. At this point in life, you've seen enough to know that love isn't something you beg for. It's something you choose, carefully, calmly, and with your whole heart. And that right there makes you stand out more than anything else. Because when a woman stops chasing attention, and starts choosing connection with intention, everything changes. You're not looking for someone to complete you, you're already whole. You're not hoping someone finally picks you, you're the one doing the choosing now. And that changes the energy completely. You stop feeling anxious about whether someone likes you, and start asking yourself, do they bring peace into my life? Do they respect my values? It's not pride. It's not playing hard to get. It's wisdom. It's maturity. It's knowing the cost of giving your heart to the wrong person. You've been through enough to understand that love without respect isn't love. Affection without consistency isn't love. And attention without commitment? That's just noise. That's why the most magnetic older women don't rush. They take their time. They listen. They observe. They protect their energy. And that calm patience, that ability to wait for what feels right, is what makes the right kind of man want to come closer. Not because you need him, but because your life is so rich, so full, so grounded, he wants to be part of it. You don't have to be cold. You don't have to be distant. You just have to be clear that you're not here to fix, prove, or chase anything. You're here to choose love, not to search desperately for it. And when you live with that kind of quiet strength, you attract not just attention, you attract respect, and the kind of love that stays. At this stage in life, most men aren't looking for drama. They've had enough of the highs and lows, the misunderstandings, the confusion. What they quietly hope for, though many won't say it out loud, is peace. And not just any peace, the kind that comes from being with a woman who makes them feel safe, accepted, and calm. No pretending. No pressure. Just real connection. And do you know who's best at giving that kind of peace? A woman who has lived. A woman who doesn't need to be loud to be strong. Who doesn't need to prove herself to be worthy. She simply is. It's the way she listens when he speaks. The way she lets him be himself, even on hard days. It's the way she doesn't rush or try to fix everything, but create space for someone to breathe. She doesn't ask, "What can you do for me?" Instead, her presence quietly says, "You can just be yourself here. I see you." This doesn't mean being passive or ignoring your own needs. Not at all. It means loving without losing yourself. It means giving without expecting someone to fill your emptiness, because you've already filled it with your own strength, your own joy, your own purpose. A man may be drawn to beauty, but he stays for comfort, for softness, for a place where he feels understood. And an older woman who knows how to offer that, without controlling, without fixing, without chasing, becomes the kind of woman he can't forget. She becomes the woman who doesn't change him, she inspires him to want to change. Not out of fear, but out of love. Because something about the way she carries herself makes him want to become a better man. A stronger partner. The kind of person who deserves that kind of peace. You don't need to be younger. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. Calm. Honest. And rooted in who you are. That's what truly makes you magnetic and unforgettable. And if this message spoke to your heart today, I'd love for you to write one sentence in the comments. I choose to become the woman no one wants to lose. Let's keep walking this journey together, with grace, with peace, and with the kind of confidence that doesn't fade with time, it only deepens.